Sure.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Virtual Engagement Ideas Summit. And our special guest today joins us all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. This is Kat Stremiecki from Ivy Tech Community College System. There's only like 700 colleges in the system, right?
It's pretty close, about 45, yeah. But I mean, it feels like 700 sometimes. So.
Right, and you, and one of the fun facts about today is that, and this is something that we just have to roll with in our new reality, is that the internet in the building that I'm in, that I've been conducting all the interviews in, and it's gone smoothly the entire time, suddenly is gone. So right now we're using my Wi-Fi hotspot, right? So we don't actually know if I'm pixelated, if you're pixelated. We can see each other okay, but these are just the things that happen, and they're going to happen with our events as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We have to figure out a way to roll with it. Your campus, or your many campuses, specifically your student government presidents.
Mm-hmm.
No, scratch that. I don't want to talk about them yet. I want to talk about you. I'm excited to talk about your student government presidents.
Well, they're so fun.
All right, Kat, you have been, how long have you been working at Ivy Tech?
About 7.5 years, since January of 2013.
Right.
Crazy.
You've been in student, you were in student activities in the beginning.
Pretty much my entire career, so about 15 years, which seems like it has not been 15 years. I've suddenly become like the mid-level professional, and it feels weird to me.
Yeah, but your position now has you overseeing the campuses and communicating virtually with all of the advisors from all the individual campuses.
Yeah, which is funny because we've always communicated with each other virtually as a student life team. So I have 18 student life officers across the state, one for each campus service area. And so, we're very different than most systems because I've worked in some other system schools, and I think twice in about 6 years did I ever meet anybody else who did student activities from any of our other campuses in that system. And my folks meet like monthly, sometimes more than that. I mean, we're together all the time. So when you're bringing folks from across the state, we often use Zoom and teleconferences and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So.
And so you've been an advocate of the virtual or remote connection for years and years.
Yeah, so we have a pretty large online student population, and a couple of years ago I started planting the seed with our director team that, hey, maybe we might want to do some virtual programming or some online programming, and then we switched to a primarily 8-week class schedule. So we had an entire group of student life officers who was dedicated to researching and finding a solution for how do we offer programming that's not 16 weeks and face-to-face. And we started that last August, ironically.
Yeah. And you now have a document of recommendations, right?
We do. So also what was kind of funny over the 1920 academic year was one of my favorite parts of my job is I get to advise our SGA President's Council. So each of our campuses not only has a student life lead, but they also have a student government president and their own SGA on their campuses. And each one of those presidents is on what we call the SGA President's Council. So once a month, those presidents come together and talk about what's happening on their campuses. And each year they do a legacy project. So in December, right before the holiday break, the SGA president selected the legacy project. How might we improve the online student experience? Yeah. And what makes me laugh about that every time is it was mid-December. And so when we think back to mid-December, this wasn't a thing. And
sure.
Yeah. And so we, as a President's Council team, and then also as a student life team, because they were working on something similar, started doing some research with some schools that are doing virtual engagement. Awesome. And so we on the student life side had a pretty decent amount of research already, but starting about mid-February to the first part of March, the SGA presidents had written a list of recommendations for our college president about how they thought after their research and their own experience, how we might be able to improve the online student experience. And 10 days later, we went fully virtual.
So we're going to share this document or these recommendations with everybody. And, on the Summit bio page of yours, we will find a way to link to the document so that everybody has these recommendations. And it's down to even laptop recommendations and accessibility recommendations and the data that you have on whether students wanted synchronous or asynchronous classes. Like it's pretty thorough, and it's going to be helpful because the students that were that participated, you were from across the state.
Yep. All
ages, and it's community college based sort of data. So it'll be really helpful for a lot of school systems. Thank you.
Yeah. Excited to share that. They will tell you that COVID-19 stole their thunder because they knew some of their recommendations were we're going to ruffle some feathers, and we were going to have some folks who were going to be really unhappy with their recommendations. And then we ended up implementing almost all of them. Wow. Because we had to. Right. And so, so that's just been, it's funny because they were like, we were ready to like drop this bomb. And then, and then this happened.
And you actually dropped like a bouquet or in a basket of candy, a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
The bomb we were looking for.
Yeah. It was more like, hey, what you've decided to do is actually what we would like you to do anyway. So I think it kind of helps some folks feel a little more comfortable with how we made the switch and doing synchronous classes and things like that, because like our students had already said that they were interested in that experience. So
yeah. And what are you excited about moving forward into the fall with all your campuses?
We've spent some time, really thinking about how we're offering programming and what we're offering and how we can change that to fit a virtual format. So Doug, who is on the APCO webinars, what's Doug digging? Actually met with my folks for 2 days, a couple of hours each day. And one of the things that he really hit home with my folks was to go back to the goals of what you're doing. So why are you doing Welcome? Why are you doing this programming model? Why are you doing this thing over here? What are those goals that you're trying to achieve with that? And then completely redesign what you're doing based on those goals. Right. Instead of, I have a lot of folks who do orientation, and one of them had asked the question of, hey, doing my 4-hour orientation over Zoom sounds terrible. And Doug had said to him, why are you doing your 4-hour orientation on Zoom? There's an opportunity for you to do some pre-work with students, and then your orientation is more about connecting that group of students. Right. And so, we've really taken a look at some of our programming to say, hey, why does everything have to be an hour? And we're finding that students really do like a program to be more like 30 minutes or to be a series where they can come 30 minutes each week and connect with the same students over and over again, and they start to get to know each other a little better.
Rather than one epic journey on one day. That's a great recommendation. So just for the record, Doug Hall is another one of the interviews.
Doug's great.
And you're curious who we're referring to. Doug Hall is one of the other interviews, and it's called, I believe we're going to call it Tech Talk with Doug. Right?
That's a great thing.
Yeah, he's very helpful. Hey, so this is great that we're going to be able to share your document. It's really neat to find out that you're utilizing virtual remote ways to connect, and you have been for years. So you're an advocate of it. But one of the things that I think is unique about you is that, you ready for this?
Oh, I can't wait.
You have 5 frogs in your window.
Oh my God, I do.
5 frogs in your window.
So this window behind me is an egress window.
An egress window, okay.
It's an egress window, and it's full size. There's a security system out there just in case anybody's, thinking things. But, and one day, months back, I would look out and I would see this frog, this like lonely little frog who had decided to live by themselves. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And my husband also thought it was cute and got a little like plastic dish, like a little pool for him. And then one day I get to noticing, like I hear something jump up against the window and I'm like, oh, it's raining. It's probably our frog friend. And then I hear another thing and I look out and I discover I have 2 frogs I have a big frog and I have a little frog. And then as it's raining, I start to see more of them. I have 4 little frogs and 1 giant frog. So then we felt like that was too many frogs. and really what I need is someone's 10-year-old to like climb down in my egress window and rescue these frogs, because I'm not touching them.
Right.
Also, what I have recently discovered is mute if you are squeamish. I was looking out the window one day and I was like, what are these tiny little white sticks? Because I will say the student life directors and I have questions about how we only have 1 big frog and 4 little frogs and no water. Because I mean, biology. And we think we found the other large frog. They have eaten him.
No kidding.
Yeah, I have like a frog skeleton in my egress window. And
this is an exciting interview.
it's so weird. So we have put a 2x4 in our egress window. And now I have noted that after about a week, I don't have any little frogs and I haven't seen the big frog in a couple of days. So I think that I'm hoping that they've climbed out.
They scurried up the 2x4. Well, that's a great story.
Yeah. The things you see when you're at home. I would have never known that if I was going to work every day.
That's the silver lining. You've learned so much about the frog world, you know, because they couldn't have been born there, right? Because they're tadpoles. It's
right.
Really, they're just hopping around your yard. What the reality is that you have 1,000 frogs in your yard, and only the ones who fall in are the ones that you know about.
I know.
Right?
We've done some extensive research on frog reproduction on some of our student life calls because we've got questions. We all took freshman biology.
Right. Oh, Kat, this has been a fun conversation. And
it is.
Thanks for going on this journey with my Wi-Fi hotspot.
Hey, this was great. And what the same experience our students are having.
Great.
You know, where, I mean, we've got a lot of rural students. So high-speed internet is not something that is at most of our students' homes. So, and you know what, and our faculty and staff too, because they live in the same communities our students live. So it worked great.
Okay. So, Kat, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share the document and all the findings that you had. It's hard to say them all in a conversation. So thanks for being here.
Hey,
I can't wait to drive up to Indy and see you there someday soon.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks.